Got a few of you there. Um, just wait a little bit, a minute or two for everyone to get on. Can you hear me okay? Today I'm flying solo, so what I'm going to get you to do, if you have any questions or want to say anything, if you can just put stuff into the comments, if that's okay. I did have an issue last time that people couldn't write in the comments, so maybe somebody could give me a test. Can you hear me? Can you write yes in the comments if you can? Um, hmm, here we are. Okay. Sorry, I mean in the chats. If you can hear me okay, if you could write yes in the chats. As I mentioned last time, for some reason I couldn't get access to the chat. So I'd really love to know if you can hear me. If you can't hear me and I can't see the chat, I'm thinking Q&A works pretty good. Okay. Okay, here we go. Pete, I can actually I have to switch. That's weird. I have to switch you all onto chat. So chat, maybe chat's not working for me today. Should do. Hello, Tanya. That's a yes. It's a hand raise. Can you hear me? Still might wait one more minute. The chat is disabled. Oh, that happened last time. Okay, so what we're going to do today, there's a few people here. So, yeah, the chat's disabled and I'm not quite sure how to. So you can hear me. Everyone, you've got, okay, let's go Q&A today. We will avoid the chat. So if you have any questions or comments, just pop it in the Q&A and that way I can hear you. So thanks for letting me know. I will need to look that up because that happened to me last time. It's very annoying. And I have no idea why the chat is disabled. Let's just minimize the chat and we'll go for okay, so any questions, put it in the Q&A, any comments, any chats, whatever, that would be really awesome. So thank you everyone for coming along today. We've got a few of you here. We've got a few of you from the same companies. So that's kind of nice. So I'll start sharing my screen and we'll just get going because we're all pretty time poor these days. So you can all see my screen. And we might go from the beginning. So this is me. Welcome. Thank you for coming along, everybody. And I appreciate you for giving your time today because we're all so super duper busy. If you haven't been in my world before, my name's Bronwyn and I've been in the travel industry for around 30 odd years. And the last 20 years, I've been a travel researcher. And essentially what I do is I help travel and cruise businesses grow all year round. So I put all year round at now because we are just such a feast and famine crazy industry. One of my areas of specialty is just helping consistent growth all year round, despite what's going on around us without our control. And so what I specialise in is primary travel research. So I'm always researching travellers. And in particular, the last 5 years or so, I have been specialising in the over 50s market. So previous to that, I used to research all travellers, but the over 50s is such a powerhouse. They have more time than anybody. They have more money than anybody. That's just a fact, no matter what they look like, how old they are. And they're very likely to pay for other people's holidays, including their millennial families and grandchildren. So they're a really fabulous travel market right now. They're very desperate to travel because they've had 2 years cooped up. Well, we all have really. Personally, I was in the fetal position in the corner for a couple of years. I don't know about you guys, but we're all out. So back into creating research-inspired marketing strategies and content. So what I do is I take that research and I turn it into marketing and sales opportunities for people like you. And I wanted to really bring in some of the cruise trends today because it's pretty crazy. So I've done a bit of research over the last 12 months for the over 50 demographic, which is obviously, bread and butter and gold for the cruise industry. It came up a lot, and there's a lot of intention to cruise over the next, not just year, but the next 10 years, which I'll go into a bit later on. So today we'll keep it pretty tight. We'll go through the travel trends, keeping in mind that this is predominantly over 50s, but a lot of it is actually not just over 50s. A lot of it will relate to other segments as well. So I try to bring it in where you are not alienating other key markets as well. So we'll talk about some cruise trends. We'll talk about some things that are impacting and opportunities you have around to attract, the holy grail of new to cruise. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on there, and there's some really exciting Google research that's just come out that validates that. So, we'll look at trends and opportunities for you. Now, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as what I do, every single piece of advice and every decision I make and every sort of consultancy gig starts and ends with customer research. So I've been doing primary travel research for the last 20 years. So there's a lot that I know, and it runs pretty deep. So it's really important to keep in mind that a key differentiation with from a marketing perspective as an agency is the fact that everything runs on consistent, ongoing primary research of your key customers. So what I find with my clients in the travel industry and broader industry, because I did dip into other industries during the COVID period, the hardest part that my clients find with using research and trends to increase bookings and grow is actually taking that piece of research and that insight and turning it into growth. And that, I have to say, no matter what sort of a marketer you are, is actually really, really difficult to do. And I started honing this skill back when I was in the Qantas research department many moons ago. So to actually take that research and operationalise those trends, turn them into tasks, turn them into growth is a real skill. So again, this is something that, hopefully we can do today. I'll pull out some of those trends and give you some tactics to use those trends and hopefully grow your business or make little tweaks in your marketing campaigns along the way. So again, I'll reinforce, this is stuff that I've done in the last year, qualitative research. So I've been interviewing potential travellers over 50, one-on-one depth interviews. And the reason I do a lot of these interviews is because you get a depth of knowledge that you just don't quite get with the survey. So we know the stats, we know travel's growing and we know by what percentage, but what interviews give us is the story behind it, what they're looking for. It goes so much deeper than the numbers. And we know that emotion is the holy grail of marketing as well. And qualitative research really does bring the traveller mind alive. They're over 50s, they have big plans to travel, they're a solid, great market. So, when we're all being seduced by Gen Z, millennials, Gen Z, for example, have enormous intentions to travel. Can you convert them? They're really hard because they just don't have the money and they just don't have the time that these guys have. So right now, your over 50s are the most resilient market for you. And you already know that because you're in the cruise industry. So they're pretty well, you know, when it comes to economic uncertainty, for example, they're really pretty solid. They don't have the big mortgages that the young'uns have. And again, their outlook on life has kind of really clarified for them during COVID that life's really short. We've got to get out and enjoy themselves. So that's one major shift that has sort of come around within their minds since COVID, and that's what COVID did to them. Let's get into the meaty stuff. So one of the things that happened during COVID is that, I don't know, they just had a lot of time on their hands. So for the travellers, they did a lot of travel planning. And what I've seen in the last year, you know, previous to COVID, we would often ask the question in research and surveys, what's the lead time? When do they start planning their travel? They plan all the time and they're planning for longer and longer. So they're not planning for the next year. They're not even planning for the second year. They're planning for up to 10 years ahead. And this gives you so much opportunity. And what this does is it really unfolds so many different strategies and tactics that you can, you know, retain loyalty, referrals, and all sorts of things. So, you know, we had all sorts of strange comments. This lady, I love putting her up. Her name was Brigitte. She was nearly 70, and she was saying she was even planning her travel for when her husband dies. So, and this is what's great about qualitative research. You know, she said, I know my husband's going to die before me, and I've got a list of trips that I'm going to do before he goes, and then a list of trips that I'm going to do after when he dies. Very matter of fact, this is how strong the drive to travel and live your life to the max goes with these guys. So these are baby boomers. They're the hedonistic generation. They have a completely different outlook to, say, people, your cruisers 75 plus. The cruisers 75 under are a completely different mindset. So, you know, the silent generation, which is their parents, compared to the baby boomer generation, are a completely different species of people. They're fun. They're looking to maximise their, you know, what they get out of life. They're, you know, they're almost the resurgence in live music is apparent because of these guys. So they're completely different to the previous older generation of cruisers. And this is something that you really need to be mindful of, and be mindful that they're not just planning for the next year or so, they're planning for the next 10 years. So again, I spoke to another lady who had literally a list of where she was going each year and what she was doing. So this isn't just cruise, it's also touring, independent travel, domestic, international. There's all sorts of experiences. And these guys are really looking to collect peak experiences and memories. That's what it's all about. So they're done with acquiring possessions. They don't want things, they just want experiences. And if they can live their life, you know, traveling and doing what they want, they'll be really, really happy. So this is really about spending the kids' inheritance. Now, this is a biggie, and we'll sit here for a while because this one also has implications for the next trend. And again, it's really important to cruise, because what I'm getting a sense of with what's happening with cruise is that there's a lot of brand switching going on right now. I don't know if you see that. I see it with touring, I see it with cruising, and even destinations as well. So touching on what I mentioned before about, you know, back in the old days, we'd say, oh, there's a 6-month lead time, a year lead time. Essentially, our travellers are in a perpetual state of travel research. They don't stop planning their travels. It's a hobby now. they get just as much joy out of the travel planning as they do as the trip itself. So they're always on, always planning. And honestly, they've got multiple trips on the plan. And I've seen travellers, they literally would spend hundreds of hours researching throughout the year on what they're going to do. They want to know every single little detail about what's going to happen to them, what they're going to experience, the emotions that they're going to discover. They want to know all of this before they even go, or they go on your vessel or choose the room. They want to know. And they're going to do this for every single brand. So this has seriously big implications for your marketing executions. Now, this is truly amazing. It came out probably about a month ago, this Google research, and this is something that I was seeing a lot, probably over the last 18 months. I've worked with Google before, I do advise them, but they had another company conduct some research for them. It came out that more than half of travellers that made an eventual trip booking decision it was different from what they intended when they started out. So that means if they've seen your ad on TV, beautiful ad, that's been the trigger in the traveller path to purchase or the customer journey. Oh, I'll hop on and I'll research your brand or your ship, hop on, and they might for some reason not find what is going on, what they want, and they'll go down that Google rabbit hole and keep searching. So what is happening is that nearly half of them are ending up doing something completely different from what they intended to do when they started. This has huge implications for, brand loyalty. So, with Cruise, you really do have evangelist customers, really loyal customers. This tells me that is at risk, and we're going to unpack this a little bit because the Google research tells us why this is happening, and my own research correlates with what's happening with Google. So what is happening here is after seeing your ad on TV at the top of the funnel, so there's no real problems there because we're seeing some really beautiful visually stunning ads at the moment. So whether that be your TVC, your Facebook ads, any sort of ad at the top of the funnel, they're coming in, but half of them are still switching ship, brand, vessel, destination, or experience. So why is that happening? The reason that this is happening is that your beautiful ads are sending your travellers to quite lean websites and landing pages. So when they see these gorgeous ads that inspire them to go and check you out and research what you're doing, what your ships, your port, your new ports, whatever, it directs them, they'll just Google your brand, your branded search, and then they'll look at the website, and perhaps the website is not fulfilling on the promise of the beautiful ads. And that's not just in cruise. I'm seeing that everywhere. I'm seeing it with lots of touring companies that are splashing huge amounts of money on TVC, on print media, on Facebook, programmatic, whatever. So all this money's being, millions and millions being spent on top of the funnel. They get there to where they're spending hundreds and hundreds of hours researching, and they're just not finding the information that the traveller needs. And this is a shift that's happened over the last couple of years. This is a shift since we've had loads of time during COVID, and especially a shift with retirees, semi-retired people, or people thinking about the next stage of their life. They've got the time to research. So there's a couple of things going on here. So cruise and touring content is often very functional and itinerary based. So, we'll have these beautiful visuals on an ad, and then we'll go to the website where, it basically says the itinerary, day 1, day 2, day 3. It tells you what is happening on each specific day. There's not a lot of emotion behind it. And sometimes I'm seeing that even you're driving people to your website through the top of the funnel. You go there, and sometimes I'm seeing brands that even gate their content. So what that means is that if you want more information, or if you want to download a brochure, for example, pop your email in here and we'll send it to you. That is actually just putting friction, another barrier in front of your customer or potential traveller, and they'll just go, oh, too hard, I'll go, I'll research other cruises. So this is something that's happening right now, and there's a lot of choice. There's so much choice available to the traveller right now as well. And we're being inspired by all sorts of things, not just your ads, but also, Netflix. Look at the Amalfi Coast, and there's so much inspiration out there that's not traditional advertising. So the solution is helpful, inspiring, emotionally charged content. You still need the functional content. You need to still tell them that, yes, you have 50 different activities throughout the day. You're going to go here, here, and here. But what you need is content that allows me to really feel and understand what I'm going to experience when I'm on board. So I've actually unpacked a lot of these trends in my research as well. So, and we'll go through some of those in this, but just nature-based experiences, for example. How can you we automatically think, no, we don't have that on a cruise ship. But you have the most, you have nature's backyard. You have the most beautiful nature-based experience going around, the ocean. And people talk about nature as being humbling, and Mother Nature, who's in charge. These are the sorts of things that we need to articulate in our content, rather than we go to this port, this port, this port, and maybe a little paragraph on the city. So we need to pull out what's going to happen to me and how it's going to make me feel when I'm there. And again, a reminder, they're spending hundreds of hours. They want to know everything. They want to know every nook and cranny of your ship. So if you don't supply an abundance of emotionally charged, useful, relevant, helpful content, they will switch brand and they'll go into the arms of their competitors. And that's just what's happening. And it's not just the competitors. They'll go into the arms of something else. They'll just go down that Google rabbit hole. We've all been there. We all do it. It's my hobby as well, just to get on and see what's out there. And they'll just get totally lost, and they'll stumble upon things. That's the language they're using. I stumble upon these great things that I didn't even know, because they spend hours, and it probably started when they saw your beautiful ad, and they end up in another part of the world. So in saying that, content has never been more important to your strategy. It can't be ordinary, and it can't be just functional. We need the functional, but we need extraordinary as well, and memorable. And I want to know how you're going to make me feel. And this is particularly important to the new to cruise market, because one of the key objections with new to cruise is that they're worried that they're going to be bored. Okay, so this is something that I hear from people in talking to them. Why don't you want to try a cruise? I can't get off the ship. I'm worried about that. I'm worried I'll be bored, and I don't want to be with all these people. Having information available online where they can actually really read about the experiences beyond you telling them about, the specialist talks or the music or the bands. You need to go into great detail about what happens to them on a ship and what a day could look like for you. You have your trivia night, you have your bingo, you have all sorts of stuff. I know when I went on my first cruise, I was just completely wowed and surprised about what there was to do and the spaces. And that's the thing, we don't promote our beautiful spaces to sit and relax and read a book and take it all in. So again, less functional, more emotional. And don't make it hard to find that information. So right now, your content is almost certainly letting you down. And that's not just cruise, it's touring, it's accommodation. With accommodation, for example, I'm almost advising to be a destination specialist on their website. So wherever you are, you need to not only promote your thing, your beds, your whatever, you need to create content of what's around it. So you need to promote your location and where you are and things to do that are close by. So, just seeing how this plays out at a very basic level. Here's Trish. She sees an ad. It's a great, beautiful ad. You've spent hundreds of thousands on it, if not millions, on TVC advertising, on the actual visual. She goes to your page, your landing page, which probably just goes to your home page. It could be a bit ho-hum. It could be not even related to the ad if it's going to your home page. And that's one of the things that happens is that, we have these beautiful ads and I might just go to a home page, which is fairly generic. It doesn't really talk about what sparked their interest in the first place. So getting as close as possible to that landing page. And this is one of the things that I helped Google with is help them kind of craft the landing pages for their clients. So, the page might be a bit ho-hum, a bit scant on detail, or she might have to put in an email address, for example, to find more information. And it's like, oh, too hard. She'll have a poke around, we'll have a few itineraries, but she might just have a look and see what else is out there, and she might never see you again. So, it's not that she doesn't want to hook up with you. She's there. You just don't have enough information. Okay, getting on to our next trend is accessible and cruise. And that accessible is the next big thing. But I'm here to say the accessible travel sector is 100%, the growth is driven by the ageing population. So this is the over 50s, more likely the over 60s. So when we think accessible, we automatically think wheelchairs, but that's not the case. Most accessible tourism is about stuff that we can't see on a person. We don't know what it is, what they need. And again, there's been some really interesting insight come about in the research. I just love this quote. Have a read. So I love this guy. He was so interesting to talk to. He realised on one trip that, it was a big road trip around Australia, that he couldn't drive the distances he used to. He'd get quite tired and he was very worried because it was him and his wife driving around. And what he saw about coach touring and cruising, for example, was a way that, he did not want to stop travelling. It was a way to keep him travelling. So it was a trade-off. It's either a cruise or a coach tour, or I just don't travel anymore. And he was really happy to make that compromise. So, the travellers just really want to travel. And it doesn't have to mean that you're in a wheelchair or anything like that. So this is research from Tourism Britain. And what we're seeing out of their accessible tourism research is that only 6% of travellers are in a wheelchair. We have mobility impairment, which means that somebody might have just had a stroke and they just need a little bit of help walking around. They might have a walking stick. Deaf or partial hearing. I've got an example of that. And just long-term illness, somebody might have cancer, they might be recovering from a hip operation. It might be temporary. So accessible kind of comes about in ways that generally you cannot see. And this is really, really important for content as well. So you need to have content and photos, as many photos as possible, so that they can visualise in that room how they can walk around. So it doesn't mean investing in loads of expensive infrastructure. It just means that you need to basically describe and show photos is the best thing that you can do about how they can get around. And again, I really don't know many cruise lines that have detailed photos of their accessible rooms or, you know, spaces, so that you know how easy it is to get around. So again, really, really important. So what does accessible in the modern boomer age look like? So these are some of my research respondents. So this was Julie. Julie went on an Intrepid tour with her sister and, you know, a whole group of friends. They actually did their own tour. So it was a bespoke tour. So they needed something, you know, accessible, because sister-in-law travelled with a moon boot. She'd broken her ankle, and you know, and then this is what accessible is. You can't get around like you used to, or you are more susceptible to falls than you used to be. So you really do need to sort of think about steps, how you're going to fall. You know, as we're getting older and 50 plus, we have to work on our muscle density, because we just fall more often. So we're going to be having more accidents, and poor Julie's sister had to go to Vietnam in a moon boot. That's accessible. We have Susan and Andrew. Now, Susan is deaf. She wears 2 hearing aids in both ears. So audio induction loop systems transmit sounds and announcements straight to your hearing aids. Now, what that means is that she has hearing aids with Bluetooth stuck in them. So whenever she's listening, whenever she's having a phone conversation, she does it through her hearing aids. Whenever she's listening to audiobooks, whenever she's touring in a museum. So you need to have information about this stuff on your cruise. You know, your special interest talks, for example, can I listen to them through my audio induction loop systems? So this is really, really important information. And look at her, you wouldn't even know, but it's really, really important. And if she was choosing between one brand and another brand, and the one brand had a bit of information on their website, she'd go with them, because they've sort of went, you know, I can enjoy the talks. Here's another face of accessible tourism, Judy and Bob. So Judy and Bob went to Europe. Actually, they did a round the world trip business class. Now, they just have your basic mobility issues, and how that translated in our discussions is that they worried about things like walking up and down stairs, elevators. They went business class because that was going to be much more comfortable for them. But they had some concerns. She'd done so much research on her accommodation in Paris. They'd found this beautiful Airbnb right in the centre of Paris. It was a bargain. The only thing was, and they only found this out when they got there, is the 4 flights of stairs that they had to go up and down each time they wanted to go on an excursion of some sort. So Judy said she was so worried about Bob on the last night, how he was going to get all their luggage down. She was worried he was going to fall. She couldn't sleep the night before. So this is how front of mind and how important information and content can be to really help your travellers and cruisers visualise what's going to happen to them, where they're going to, if you can help me. So is help available if I can't carry my luggage is something really super important, but very, very basic information. So again, as with what we talked about before, very detailed images and descriptions of a range of disability issues that may come your way. And again, a lot of these you will not see. The 5th trend that you can really execute well, which is not being executed as well as I think it can be in cruise, is the wellness trend. Now, you all have wellness facilities, you have a wellness centre, but you know, that's an expensive add-on too. However, wellness is a huge driver of choice, but it's not a primary driver of choice when it comes to a holiday or a cruise. So what we've seen in research is wellness is what we call a secondary driver of choice. So that accounts for most wellness trips. So when we hear that, oh, wellness is huge right now, most of the time, and 8% of travellers are going to do that yoga retreat or, doing a wellness cooking course. It's the sole focus. So generally, it's not the primary reason, but they expect wellness experiences along the way. So here's what came out in the research from the Wellness Travel Institute. Most people said they must have wellness experiences for their vacation /holiday /cruise is access to nature and outdoor activities. Then a variety of food options, peace and quiet. Where can you give me peace and quiet on a cruise ship that has thousands of passengers, please? Of course, access to spa treatments, fitness activities, workshops, and then yoga meditations right down there, but that's what we kind of always think. So again, if you can place some sort of content on your site around this stuff, so I know you have healthy food options, you do touch on it, but give me examples of dishes and what I can ask for. Peace and quiet. You guys have fabulous spaces on deck looking out to the ocean. One thing that I never ever see, I really don't see it in advertising, is you guys are in the best nature's playground, I'd call it. We focus so much on the vessel, on the ship. We focus nearly exclusively on what's on the ship, what's inside the ship, and the cities, the itineraries, again, functional. But what comes out in my research is that nothing is more humbling than nature. Nature's a real key driver right now, but nothing is more humbling and calming than watching the ocean in all its glory. To me, when I'm on a cruise, I love nothing more than to just sit on deck with a glass of wine, with a book, and looking out there. That really is the most wonderful experience. You need to talk about this because this touches so many trends right now. It touches the nature-based tourism trend. So, you automatically think, oh, how can we dive into to this trend? Well, here's the trend. It's right in front of you. It's all around you. We're seeing birds, we're seeing nature, we're seeing that huge expanse of the ocean, the sense of wonderment when you just look out and see the horizon, there's nothing out there. That truly is amazing. So you need to leverage what's outside, not what's inside. So again, and this sort of content has the real ability to create that emotional content, the holy grail of tourism and just marketing in general. Here is another great example from Susan, who wore the hearing aids. Wellness as a secondary driver. So Susan went to the Amalfi Coast and she did lots of cruising around the Mediterranean. And this is a photo she sent to me where she's an ocean swimmer. So she's an iceberger where they swim cold every single day in the cold water. She wanted to go ocean swimming wherever she was. Again, this is a secondary driver. So her dream was to cruise around the Amalfi Coast and the Mediterranean up north. But she wanted to also incorporate her love of ocean swimming. Again, wellness as a secondary driver. So where can you do this? Where can I experience, ocean swimming? I mean, I'm on a big ship. We're porting. Can I do these things in excursions? Now, probably one of the last trends I'll take you on and take you down is the solo female traveller. Yes, female. And we're seeing research. I mean, the solo travel sector is just enormous. It is growing and growing and growing. They don't really care about single supplements. They're pretty well, it's a bit old hat these days. They understand how the travel system works, the accommodation works. Great if you have single cabins, but if not, it's not a barrier. So feel free to price it well, which I'm sure that your pricing departments are doing. So with solo travel and solo travellers, One thing to remember, they're not always traveling solo. They're just travelers. So sometimes they're traveling solo, sometimes they're traveling with other people. So in terms of that long-term repeat and referral, your solo traveler is great. A cruise can really cater well. Again, I don't see too many pages. I might see a paragraph or two of information for solo travel, but I don't get a sense of the experience. You know, what's going to happen to me? How can I meet people? Is it easy to meet people? Are there spaces that I can be on my own? What can I do? I can get a cabin with a balcony so that I can enjoy breakfast on my own balcony. I don't have to go to the restaurant all the time, enjoying my own spaces. So again, how can you facilitate that if I want to be alone, if I want to meet people? Give me the options. And next time they'll probably bring their family. Now, a lot of these solo women travelers are baby boomers. They're grandparents. So again, thinking beyond the solo traveler, they might come next time and they're going to pay for their millennial kids and their grandkids and just to have a great family get together. So they're great referral partners where you need them. You know, a lot of solo travelers are traveling, you know, they're married or partnered, they're experienced travelers, and they're traveling because they don't want the fact that their partner or hubby or friends don't want to go. They don't want to let that stop them. They are naturally curious, interesting people. They're curious about the world. So again, this is where your content, I'm not going to be bored content, is really super duper important. So the key to monetizing these trends right now, I really think and know, is creating content that's emotional and inspiring. So just going way beyond, you know, just the basic content. I really think if you want to, you know, just imagine once they've seen that ad, they're probably going to come to your website and they want to have a good poke around. They want to have, it's got to be easy as well. They want to, you know, go down a rabbit hole on your site, not another site. So make sure there's plenty there, inspiring content that is really useful and helpful as well. So most travel content, not just cruise, touring and cruise is pretty factual and very much the same as each brand's. So without this purposeful research-backed content, you simply won't connect with your ideal traveller. You're just saying the same as every single other brand that's out there. So that's a bit of a wrap at the moment. If you're interested in any of this, get in touch. So I do research-based content packages. I used to sell my research, but I'm finding right now people just want really great content. So the difference with my content and my research-inspired packages is that, you know, they're not generic, which is what, you know, if you're churning out advertising agency content, a lot of that is driven by ChatGPT. What I do is I incorporate my research and insights and trends, and that gives you a true competitive advantage because what I'm pulling out is the most recent stuff, and that's not in ChatGPT to be accessed. So that's how I roll. Now, what I might do is take some questions. So who has a question? Anyone? No, come on. Seriously? Questions, comments? Did you like it? Was it useful? Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen now. I wonder if I can get everybody off mute all at the same time. Don't know. Very insightful, thank you. Do you have any questions specific to what you are working on at the moment that I can help with? Any campaigns? Everyone's still here, so I feel like I need to talk about more stuff. So, okay. Well, if that's it, I might call it a wrap. If you want to contact me, I am available. You can just return the email. You can call me, or you can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm very prolific on LinkedIn. So does anyone have anything here that you want me to expand on? I've got really beautiful comments here, but I just want to make sure you get the most of it and answer any questions. So you've all said lovely, kind things, and you're all still here. I'll rabbit on for a little bit more if you want, until you have a great question. Do you want the presentation? I can send you the slides if you like. So, well, what I'll do, I'll just let you know, I'll reach out to you individually, and we can have a chat about what you're doing if you like. I can share any ideas about your specific strategy, you know, and we can just chew the fat on what you're up to at the moment. So I'll just flag that. I'll get in touch with you all, and I really thank you again. Time is so precious. So thanks for your time. And, oh, hang on. Do I have a question or two? Oh, yes, I've got questions. Whoa, a question. Now, anonymous attendee, you'd love a copy of the presentation, but make sure you email me because it put you up as anonymous. Mentioned that 50% of travellers will change. What role do you think the offline journey, e.g. travel agent, path to purchase, play in that? Look, travel agents are there, and they do actually play a part in that. Even if somebody's using a travel agent, they're still probably putting in hundreds of hours of research. So quite often, and it's a really fantastic question because it's so complex. And Google tell us, and you know, I do talk about this with my clients, there are 8 stages of the traveller path to purchase. So yes, you're right, Peter. People will do their research, perhaps go to a travel agent, and the travel agent might be aligned, or they may have even been on a Famil on a different cruise line. That's why, you know, I'm old school. I was a travel agent, you know, 30 years ago. Famils are so fabulous. The other thing that happens is they're searching for specialist agencies. So when it comes to cruise, if they're doing all of their research online and not finding what they want, they will seek out a cruise specialist. And yeah, I mean, an agent, a really good agent, does have the power and influence to change a mind, because they know about that. And that's what we're seeing in travel as a whole. Travel agents that are true specialists in perhaps a destination or cruise specialists are really worth their weight in gold to these people, to the travellers. So that's a really great question, Peter. But yeah, the more information you have online, the less influenced they will be by the travel agent. So that's why content plays such a vital role. If you have scant content, that factual itinerary-based content, they're going to go to a travel agent, and that travel agent will influence. They'll fill that void, that information void, because we just want so much information, and travel is such a high involvement purchase, more so than ever. So again, just you can control it by pushing out your own really fabulous content, having your own email nurture programs as well, and just really building that one-on-one trust brand relationship with your potential client. And as I mentioned, you know, really important for new to cruisers as well. You know, you've got to keep convincing me. You've got to earn my trust. So I hope that helps, Peter. Really, really great question. What is appealing for the female solo traveller audience? Okay, same as everything else. So when it comes to cruise, I think one of the key things that comes out with solo stuff is safety. particularly for older females, and older females are driving the solo travel market right now. It's a really safe space to be, and so that is the number one appeal. There's stuff to do, there's places to meet people. You don't dine alone. Again, dining alone is a big thing for the solo, especially for the older travellers. Not always, because I find once they've done one or two trips, they really don't give a shit after that. They're their own person. But you know, being able to enjoy company or not enjoy company is a great thing about solo traveller. The barriers, again, safety. Will I have somebody to eat with? So what we see in instances like travellers that have been newly divorced or newly widowed, who are travelling for the first time, the main barriers is, you know, again, that safety and really basic stuff like, will I be at a table alone by myself? And that sometimes really worries them. So again, you can really work through this stuff. I have an entire report on solo travellers and their concerns. Happy to show some of that stuff to you, Nicole. So let me know. But they're a huge, huge opportunity right now, because they're word of mouth too. And there's a lot of really informal solo travel groups. So while they might be traveling solo or looking for a solo cabin, they might be traveling as a group as well, or with friends, informal networks and communities, all that sort of thing as well. So I hope that's helped. No worries. Yeah, thank you. All right, any more questions? I think that's it. All right, well, thanks again, guys. I'll start winding up because that's when all the questions came through. I'll do a final check. All right, well, I'll leave it at that. And as mentioned, I'll reach out to all of you guys and just see, you know, if there's anything that we can help you with here. So have a terrific day. And I hope you're not all having a tough time with some of the COVID stuff coming out this week. It's always a challenge, isn't it? All right, guys, thanks for being with me today. Bye.